Hi guys, welcome back to another mini series video. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you joining me for these. So if you've never experienced a mini series before, you are in for a good one because today we are talking about posture. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can check in with your posture, what you can look for, how your posture could look, some of the things that may be affecting your posture, and also some little exercises, little bits of information of how you can work on your posture. If you're suffering with aches and pains, maybe you've been spending a lot more time sat at a desk or sat at home, or in general, sitting tends to cause issues for us. Maybe you're doing lots of driving. So this should be a good little mini series to not only give you a little bit of education, some things that you can check in with, but also some exercises that you can do to help with your posture. So let's get stuck right in. Okay, so posture. It's an interesting one, and just so you know, I've got 3 doggies in the room, so they may well come and visit at some stage, and I think one of them's thinking about it right now. But posture's a really interesting one. For me personally, it's been interesting because at the age of about 10, I was diagnosed with scoliosis, which is a curvature of the spine, and that changes my posture and alters it slightly. You may yourself know that you have a diagnosis that affects your posture, possibly something to do with the spine. There's a few different curvatures that come with sort of the back, and these you may be aware of or you might not be. It might be a very subtle curvature, and therefore you've not really noticed anything. But you might after this video, and it doesn't mean that it's going to diagnose you, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physio, but it might give you some little inklings into what your posture is doing. So posture is something that I think a lot of us are always trying to correct, or we feel like we need to correct. But actually, from my understanding of recent studies and recent information, is that changing and altering your posture after years and years of standing or sitting in a certain way can sometimes be detrimental. If you imagine you have, I don't know, put something into a small container for a long period of time, it needs to take its time to then bring itself back out into its natural shape. Don't know if that analogy even works very well, but that's essentially how I think of it, is that if you've stood in a certain way, if I spent my life stood like this all day long, naturally my body would adapt. It would adjust possibly what's going on in my legs. Maybe one might be more elongated and stretched out, and the other one might be a little bit tighter because I'm standing unequal. There might be things going on in my hips because my hips, obviously there's portions of my body above that. It may cause issues either up or down in the body. So then if I was to shift my posture suddenly to a central position, because there is obviously joints and muscles and bones below and above my hips, where I'm maybe thinking, oh well, it will probably just affect my hips. Obviously the body has adapted to that. You can see there's a shortening on this side, a lengthening on this side. So if I was to do that, I might get some issues in my back, I might get issues in my shoulder, I might get issues lower down with my knees and my ankles and my feet. So it's not a case of just changing it really suddenly, but actually more of a case of building up the muscles and stretching areas, and particularly the neck can be a big area for us in terms of posture. So I'm going to show you a couple of things with the neck. As I said before, I'm not a physio, I cannot diagnose you, and obviously if you have things like scoliosis, kyphosis, lordosis, other diagnoses, I would make sure that you check in with your physician, your doctor, your physio before doing any of these little exercises, just to make sure that it's safe. So, posture. Now, I am not a shining example of posture. As I said, I have scoliosis. So that's a curvature of the spine. And what it does is there's a curve in one direction, and to compensate, the spine curves in the other direction. So it creates essentially like an S shape with the spine. There's other things where maybe someone's sort of a little bit more rounded through the shoulders and their back is a little bit more curved. And then we've also got those that maybe stick the bottom out a little bit. They've got a little curve in the spine here, but going in the other direction. The belly comes forwards, and maybe sometimes the chest lifts a bit. So those two, just in case you're wondering, this is our lordosis and this is kyphosis. So all of us might well have a little bit of kyphosis, a little bit of lordosis, maybe even a little bit of our scoliosis as well. And even my scoliosis is very mild and hasn't caused me loads of issues. So you can have degrees of that, and that's absolutely fine. And I'm not going to get you to change it completely overnight, because that could cause you more issues, as I was saying just a moment ago. So a good way that you can assess your posture is actually to stand with your side looking into a mirror. And the other thing that you could do is you could actually film it. So you could pop a camera and actually film your posture. Now the best thing to do is allow the hands to just hang down by the sides, and to make an assessment or have a little look. Maybe assessment's not the right word, but you can have a look at where your hands are, where your shoulders, your hip, your ankle, your knee, where your ear is. So you really want to get a side angle. So just as I am now to the camera, this is the sort of angle you want to get. From there, you can then take into consideration where everything is. Now, what you want to do with posture is, what should happen is your ear, your shoulder, your hip, knee, and ankle should align. And that's kind of anatomically the correct posture. For most of us, we're going to deviate a little bit. We're going to have possibly, like I said, a little bit of kyphosis, a little bit of lordosis. We might have a little bit of scoliosis. And that's absolutely fine. So what you can do is, like I said, have a look and assess. Then from there, what I'd suggest is seeing what you need to do to get yourself aligned. So I've got a mirror here to the side, and what I'm going to look at is if I've got my ear over my shoulder, and then my hip, my knee, my ankle, and I'm aligning those, what have I done from my relaxed posture to that posture to get there? Apologies if you can hear my dog snoring. Evidently she thinks posture is very boring. And it's about making those subtle changes. So firstly, start in a really relaxed fashion. Maybe shake out the body a little and just stand how you naturally would. Then have a look. And then you can adjust. So maybe you need to bring the chest up a little. Maybe you need to bring the shoulders back. Maybe the ears, the head needs to come back a little bit so that the ear aligns with the shoulder. So it's all little subtle things, and you can just pay attention to what needs to happen to bring you into that alignment. And that's going to give you an indication of where your body currently is in its posture. Are you with your shoulders forwards? Are your shoulders quite far back? Now, if you are noticing some areas, like I said, kind of towards the beginning, an area that I notice a lot is definitely the shoulders and also the neck. And the reason being is we spend so much of our time, and if I had my phone, I'd show you, but I'm filming on it. We spend so much of our time hunched over like this, texting, watching videos, and in the evening, we sit like this and we watch Netflix. Then we sit at desks and we type like this. So you can see how gradually, over time, areas become longer and areas become shorter. Shortened muscles, longer muscles. And that is then your body adapts to that. So to just start suddenly sitting upright and coming into this perfect posture, it might cause you more issues. And actually, you have naturally become accustomed to sitting in that posture. So it's not about changing it completely overnight and shifting completely to this total different posture, but it's about making little adaptations. So it might be setting yourself reminders, or it might be just simply allowing yourself to remember to check in with your posture adapt it, and then naturally you start to remember it more and more as you essentially start doing it. There's other things that you can do in terms of if you work at a desk, at a PC, making sure things are adapted so that naturally you want to sit up a little taller to be able to see the screen, to be able to type. And it's really, really important if you work from home. And that's something I experience particularly, is the work from home office isn't always set up to be quite as good for your posture. Maybe there isn't as much to sit you up straight, to support you with having the arms at the right height, to have the eyes at the right height on the screen. So all of those things are really, really important because it can cause not just aches and pains, but also things like tension headaches. It can cause issues with our sight as well if we're not sitting in a good way. So definitely recommend looking at those with your setup. But actually, we do spend a lot of time like this. So again, I'm going to suggest when it comes to watching content on your phone, sitting and watching YouTube videos, or including this, watching things on your phone, making sure that you sit that a little higher so you sit tall and so that you're not hunched over. Maybe in the evenings when you're sat on the couch, again, just sitting yourself up a little taller. All these little tiny adjustments are going to be helpful for your posture. And then the other things are particularly the neck. So the neck is an area that is affected a lot with our posture. So there's some simple little exercises that you can do in bringing your posture, kind of helping to stretch out certain areas of the neck where the muscles have got tighter and shortened. So a really, really simple one is actually to look forwards, relax your body, and then stand up nice and tall. Be nice and active through the belly. And then all you're going to do is just draw your head back straight. And it will probably create a little bit of a double chin going on. But you're essentially drawing your ears back over the shoulders. And then you can just release and then hold. Just for a couple of seconds. And you can do that literally sat at a desk. It's not a tricky thing to do. You can also do other little stretches, side stretches of the head. You can do little semicircles. But this one particularly is getting into areas of the neck that we don't tend to stretch out. Naturally, when we stretch, you want to bring your head down to your chest. We want to do this to the sides. We don't think to draw the head back like this. So that's just a tiny little thing that you can do with your neck to help with your posture. And there's just those little check-ins that's so important. Those little tiny check-ins with your posture, just drawing back the shoulders or bringing the chest forwards a little. There's just tiny little adaptations that you can make. But firstly, it's creating that first look and assess of your posture and seeing what it is that you need to do. Once you've made your own personal little assessment, you can then go, okay, so I need to bring my shoulders back a little. I need to bring my chest down, and actually I am already bringing the chest forwards. So I need to actually draw the chest in, draw the belly in. So little tiny subtle changes, nothing drastic, nothing big, nothing forcing. Because if you have had your body in that position for years and years and years, then you don't want to land up just shifting the body quickly into a different position, because you will land up doing more damage than good. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with being in a sort of what you might say is a bad posture for certain periods of time. That's absolutely fine. It's not that there's any posture that's bad, it's just the posture that you're constantly maintaining isn't great for our bodies. So really making sure that you have stretch breaks and that you do those little tiny neck exercises, and that's going to support you with your posture. So thank you so much for joining me for this little mini series on posture. I hope it's been insightful in giving you, one, a way that you can have a look at your posture and make a bit of assessment, two, how you can then adapt, and three, just some little pointers for checking in and just making those little postural changes throughout your day. And also those little neck stretches, which I think are really, really important, because I can guarantee most of us don't have the best posture with our necks, because we're constantly doing things that encourage our necks to come forwards instead of lifting them up. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening and watching this. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care, guys. Bye.